Hey there, and welcome to Retro Trekkers. My goodness, I feel like I've forgotten something. Uh-oh. Terrible way to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Retro Trekkers. I'm Captain John, your congenial host, and an even more congenial co-host along with me is this man right here, Commander Joe Townsel. Mr. Townsel, please be the one to tell me if I've forgotten something. I'm sure we'll find out along the way.
Well, I mean, it's kind of early to know that you've forgotten something, Captain, but we will see. I will not hesitate to remind you if I detect it, but I think so far so good. We've got a unique show tonight, and looking forward to sharing some of the chosen best of the beats that you and I selected. And yeah, it's going to be fun.
Here's the thing. I did not want to scare you, and I didn't want to scare everybody. But as far as I'm concerned, the best of the beats is multiple volumes, which will eventually, like a best of album for a band, eventually everything will be in it. We will, because I love the beats. In case you've never seen our show before, Retro Trekkers, which airs on Tuesday. As a matter of fact, why don't I just tease this right now?
Why not?
This Tuesday, what a great episode. You and myself and Eric Kramer will be recapping and reviewing Profit and Loss, a fantastic Deep Space Nine episode. Featuring one of the greatest actors. I say this all the time. One of the greatest actors Star Trek ever used, Armin Shimmerman.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. The work that man could do. And he will be our star on Tuesday night. And part of the show, if you've never seen Retro Trekkers before, we would love for you to watch. Tuesday night, it will be 7 p.m. here on the West Coast. It is 10 p.m. when it airs on the East Coast. And every time we need to sort of lay out what the plot was of this episode, the most clean, perfect way of doing it is give it to Joe Townsel. He's a writer, and he really knows what the strong beats of any story are. And then he makes it. He actually makes this list of beats for us, and he does it in a beautiful, fun, visual way that always reminds me of Mad Magazine. And Joe, you have a little, we can talk about it this week because we got a little time. You've got a little connection to Mad Magazine. Why don't you just share that?
Well, aside from being a lifelong reader, yes, once upon a time, nothing like our good friend Chris, who's on screen now, experienced having worked there. But I did have one professional sale to Mad Magazine way back in 1987. There was definitely a high point in my career. And beyond that, like I say, just having been a big fan, reading it since I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a big influence there on my style of humor. And you see that definitely in Trekkers Beats every week.
Absolutely. So let's dive in for the first one. This is from the show Fistful of Datas, and one of my favorite beats. Let's just take a look at it. And anytime, Joe, you want me to hit the pause button and we can talk about things or anything that any questions from the chat. We got Chris and Raphael so far. Let's just start the show. Have a little look at it, and feel free to discuss.
Well, sure, and I'll reverse that in the sense that if anyone in the audience, Chris or Raphael or anybody else wants to ask a question at that point, please feel free to stop, to pause and tackle it at the moment. And one thing I'll say to introduce this one is I'm definitely, the beats are very visual.
Yeah.
I mean, they do benefit tremendously from John's editing and addition of soundtrack as far as the music. But they are visual. And so if I have any excuse whatsoever to go down a certain path, I'm going to take it. No shame at all. So this was a Western themed episode of Next Generation. So of course, I used all Western imagery I could think of. So you will see it right now.
Which I love. I love that peek into your imagination, because these are the Westerns that made Joe go, yeah, this would be fertile grounds for comedy. So
Exactly.
without further ado.
Yeehaw! It's the Retro Trekkers.
Ew.
Return with us to yesteryear. A fiery starship with a speed of warp 10, a cloud of space dust, and a hearty, hi yo, make it so. Hey, is this the Retro Trekkers or Retro Lone Rangers? Well, one thing's for damn sure, partners. This week we hang out with the next generation for some hall-deck hijinks with a fistful of datas.
And yes, this will continue as far as my bad accent.
Now, this is a version without music. I accidentally grabbed the one that didn't have music on it. But
yeah,
that's
this
okay.
we went without music for whatever reason. But in your head, just do the Bonanza theme in your head or whatever. That would give you the complete experience. But yes, and
The good ship
like I said-
Enterprise has 2 days of downtime.
Again, did this one never have music? Because
it never did.
it never did.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Oh wow. I wish I'd remembered that I'm such a bonehead. I wish I'd remembered I'd done that. I would have added music just for this. Well, that's fine. Hey,
you know what? You would have been distracted from music by, well, how darn now. This is a good old episode. So
which I'm
we'll
enjoying.
let that carry it, audibly.
I'm very much enjoying your Slim Pickens imitation.
Oh yes, thank you.
The crew, weary with non-stop skirmishes with those Ferengis, Cardassians, and other alien polecats, are tasked with killing time. Picard is trying to record a tune with his Resican flute. Crusher is directing a play. Geordi is interfacing the ship's systems through Data's positronic noggin. Worf just wants to have fun and overhaul the ship's defenses. Picard urges Worf to chill out a little bit instead. Besides, we need a plot, and fast. These day-in-the-life episodes are deadly dull. Disappointed that he'll actually have to endure some rest and relaxation, as well as spend time with his son, the morose security chief returns to his quarters. Oh, happy day! Alexandra's waiting to rope him into a holodeck adventure in the ancient West.
Can I just say, I love how you punch that, because, normally here you and I we're early in the 21st century, and we would still refer to the Old West.
Yes.
And they want to on Star Trek. They want to call it the Old West, but for them, because they are so many centuries in the future, it's the ancient West.
Yes.
I always love that detail.
And the detail I like in this particular visual, which it's if you don't catch it, it's just maybe you're getting it subconsciously. But I got to tell you, I personally like Guinan's 10 Forward Saloon, as well as Miss Deanna's House of Pleasure. I mean, I go to both places.
That's my favorite, is Miss Deanna's House of Pleasure. Especially since she shows up as a cowboy later, and it's like, oh yeah, sure, you didn't have to put her in a, showgirl outfit. I would have liked that, but it makes sense the way it is.
Gown hat. He plops on a 10-gallon hat.
Oh my God, I'm using the raw one. Oh, no, we can't do that.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, no, it's the pre-edit. I can't believe I uploaded the wrong one. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
I was saying, what is that? Do we have a skip in the record or something? What happened?
Yeehaw! It's the retro chill out a little bit instead.
All right,
that'll work.
Geordi is interfacing the ship's systems through Data's positronic noggin. Worf just wants to have fun and overhaul the ship's defenses. Picard urges Worf to chill out a little bit instead. Besides, we need a plot, and fast. These day-in-the-life episodes are deadly dull.
Oh,
disappointed that he'll actually have to endure some rest and relaxation, as well as spend time with his son, the morose security chief returns to his quarters. Oh, happy day! Alexander is waiting to rope him into a holodeck adventure in the ancient West.
Ancient West.
He plops a 10-gallon hat that amazingly fits over Worf's abundant cranium.
Good, this is the right one.
Worf and Alexander dress up as a Wild West sheriff and his deputy.
What is this from? What is this photo from?
Oh my goodness. I have to be honest, I've forgotten.
Okay.
I just was looking for good fight, saloon fight imagery.
Yeah.
And I was trying to go for the one in Blazing Saddles with the pie fight. but there's just no images available that I could find. So I said, well, I'll go a little more standards to just find a good old brawl in the saloon.
I love it.
They step through the holodeck door and arrive in the town of Deadwood. Not to be confused with that HBO show of the same name. Their mission, whether or not Worf chooses to accept it, bring the bad guy, Eli Hollander, to justice. Worf promptly kicks Eli's butt, and Alexander stops the program. He is frustrated with his dad like Geordi was with Data when they played Watson and Holmes. That was too easy, Father. It's time to put on your big Klingon panties. Alexander raises the holodeck difficulty level, so it will be a challenge worthy of a warrior.
You're already everyone's favorite actor to play Alexander. Already.
And there I am.
Worf tries again and gets into a brawl with Eli's outlaw cronies. He's rescued by Troy, all decked out in sexy leather and western garb, and speaking in a cool country drawl. The comely counselor is posing as Durango, a delightful drifter, having been recruited by Alexander because she loves western stories. Hey, don't all Betazoid babes dig cowboys?
Yeah,
especially those with big cranium ridges? Well, anyways, the trio arrests Eli.
The riches of a warrior.
Meanwhile, in engineering, a power surge in Data's positronic brain causes him and Geordi to discontinue their test.
Okay, if you didn't know that Joe Townsel was a kid during the 1970s, now you know.
Now we know. There's no denying it now, because I was right there in the theater with Mom and Dad watching me some Westworld.
One of my favorite movies that I wanted to see when I was a kid. I did finally get to see it when it was on like the CBS Friday night movie or something, but oh boy. Yeah, I don't know that a lot of people who are younger realized what a big deal Westworld was.
Sure. I mean, of course, it went on to spawn the sequel, the short-lived original TV series, and then, of course, the more recent one that ran for a few years. But trick of the trade here, the only reason, really, although I think it works, that John and I are there in the little circle arriving at Westworld, because I could not find an image of Yul Brynner in Westworld without that.
Wow.
I mean, if there was one, it was just unusable as far as being too low res or whatever. So
right,
you get two John and Joes for the price of one in this still.
That's fantastic. I love it. All right, here we go.
As they walk away, Data twirls his tricorder like a pistol. Nice technique, wrong device. Where's a phaser when you need one?
How long?
Worf, Troy, and Alexander are holding Eli in the jail.
How long did Brent Spiner?
Here come the judge. Here come the judge. But wait, dag nabbit, Alexander is kidnapped. Meanwhile, the ship's computer starts getting glitchy. The script for the play that Crusher is directing is replaced with Data's poetic odes to Spot the Cat. The music that Picard was accompanying gets replaced by Anton Dvorak's The Slavonic Dance, which Data's been analyzing. Well, that needs to be corrected ASAFP, because that highfalutin tune has no place in this goofy Wild West story. Also, food replicators produce nothing but Spot's cat food. Feline supplement number 8. Finally, and most alarmingly, Data is really starting to act like a Wild West character. Geordi gets to work repairing the damage. In the holodeck, Eli's father Frank has kidnapped Alexander, but the old man has jaundice or something because his skin and eyes are plum yellow. No, wait, that's not it. Frank looks like Data. He demands the return of his boy Eli in return for Alexander. It turns out that Frank has all of Data's physical abilities, including his corn-pone cowboy accent. Also, turns out that Frank's son, Eli, is now the spitting image of Data also. A real chip off the old block. As Worf attempts to flee, Frank shoots him. WTF? The holodeck safety parameters have been deactivated. Worf finds Troy. They deduce that they're stuck in the simulation, which can't be turned off until the story ends. They'll have to finish the story by somehow defeating an android-powered gunslinger and his trigger-fingered goons. Worf negotiates a hostage exchange with Frank. Troy warns Worf that these outlaws may be without honor. Further alarming is the fact that more and more characters are turning into Datas. A real fistful. Worf recruits the owner.
I loved this plot. We just watched it, and I still want to see it again.
It's a great one.
I loved this episode.
Of the local saloon, Miss Annie, to bring him some supplies. Annie is programmed to be the Lady of Pleasure. Thanks for that programming embellishment, Mr. Barclay. Worf must flirt back in return for the favor. And Worf uses the items to rig a temporary force field, which he wears to the final showdown. It's high noon,
Oh my goodness. Oh.
And Frank arrives with a full complement of Data look-alike henchmen.
Princess Grace will always be one of the most beautiful actresses that has ever... Hey, wait a minute. Joe, I know you've said it on the show before, but whenever we have a graphic that has your face on for one of our lovely women, your lovely face, what was the secret to making you pretty?
Well, I hope it's not a letdown to answer that. But good old AI filter. I said, give Joe some makeup and some pretty eyes. I'll give him the rest with the hair and the outfit. So there you go. Yes, Princess Graceless. Thank you, Chris. I could not have put it any better myself. And why am I suddenly talking like the video? I don't know.
You're that good. You're that good, Joe. You've influenced us all.
They promptly open fire as soon as the hostage exchange is made. The bullets bounce harmlessly off the force field, but it burns out after just a few seconds.
Oh.
The holographic bullets have adapted. Is resemblance futile after all?
Oh.
Troy emerges from her hiding place to hold the outlaw varmints at gunpoint. Well, Frank is out of ammo, but the last of his henchmen tosses him a loaded six-shooter. Worf beats him to the draw and shoots the gun out of his hand. Defeated, Frank gives up. Sheriff Worf tells the outlaws to hit the road and never return to the one-horse town of Deadwood ever again.
Stay off my holodeck.
The day is saved. Troy, Worf, and Alexander gather and at the end of the program. But it keeps running. What plot detail has remained unplayed? The trio return to the saloon, where a Data version of Annie runs down the stairs and embraces Worf. She sings a rounding rendition of "Mamas, don't let your Klingons grow up to be cowboys." Worf winces as Data Annie rests her head on his chest. Finally, mercifully, the program fades away. The Wild West hell is done. Klingon and android coitus crisis is averted. Back in their quarters, Alexander assumes that Worf won't want to return to the ancient West ever again. But Worf turns out to be a good sport after all. He states that the town of Deadwood might need the protection of good old Sheriff Worf and his deputy Alexander again someday. If so, it will be time to saddle up once again. In a private moment, the security chief admires himself in his cowboy hat, practicing his quick draw, and smiling like the mischievous warrior that he really is. The Enterprise flies into the sunset, with a little harmonica solo thrown in for good measure.
But that's not the end.
But dag nabbit, the helmsman accidentally hits the accelerator instead of the brake and slingshots the starship around the sun. Well, I'll be a prairie dog in a nest of rattlesnakes. We're in time warp, speeding into the past. Next stop, the real Wild West of the 1800s. Or at least some cheap-looking soundstage version of it. Sheriff Worf, it's time to dust off that 10-gallon hat and shine up that 6-shooter.
Well, there you go.
There it is.
That's Fistful of Datas. And I had forgotten that there was no music on this one. So that's kind of great because the next two do have music on them.
Oh, good. And like I said, this had a lot more going on audibly than the others as far as me. The original plan was for me to do my little drawl at the beginning and the end. I said, why stop? Just do the whole thing that way. And I did, for better or worse.
I loved it.
Oh, thank you. But yes, I mean, like I said, otherwise, every other time, John's editing and music selections just really, really enhance what's going on. So it's definitely a collaboration.
I also feel like I had a million excuses for this one too, because I think I was going through some serious computer problems.
There was something happening. It just you ran out of time. It happens,
Yeah. But a great summation. And can I say, I'll drop in another one. We won't have to do previews at the end. We can do a quick roundup. But I do want to point out DeForest Kelley in something of the Gun. What is it again?
Oh, this episode is Spectre of the Gun. Spectre
of the Gun.
Yeah.
So he plays. They're the guys who get shot, right?
Well, yeah, that's the whole jeopardy, is that they're on the losing end at the OK Corral. Yeah.
And the thing about our good friend DeForest Kelley, who is coming up this week, he'll be on the radio show, The Flesh Peddler, an episode of Suspense. And that'll be on Mr. Weber's Web of Mystery on Thursday. Young DeForest Kelley was in the Gunfight at the OK Corral movie.
Yep.
And plays one of the brothers, plays sort of a side character.
Right.
But
and young DeForest Kelley, if you see pictures of him on through Googling or what have you, I mean, it didn't last long for him, but he was a kind of a dashing guy in his brief day. His looks kind of became Dr. McCoy like fairly early on, which is not a bad thing, but he just wasn't the leading man type at that point.
Yeah,
but yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, of course, this is just an illustration, but yes, he very much had the bloom of youth at one point. And this is funny. maybe he looks like Sinatra.
I can see it, I can see it.
Old Blue Eyes definitely has a nice look to it. But yeah, I just think it's really funny.
Yeehaw!
You just had to get one more yeehaw in there, didn't you, John?
You know what? Zero regrets. I love that yeehaw. All right. I already have queued up our next one. But I can't remember which one it was. Hang on. I'll look at the name. It's Mirror Mirror.
Okay, great. Well, like I said, just in terms of talking a little bit more about the creative process, I mean, Mirror Mirror, well, let me say this. Our goal on Retro Trekkers generally is not to just find bad episodes and make fun of them, obviously. Of course, sometimes we get a clunker for, and it lends itself to parody.
Yeah.
But, we do a lot of good stuff, but they're usually lighthearted enough so we can poke a little fun at them and do a little bit of a parody. And also what I'm looking for when doing the beats is, what is the visual potential? Now, sometimes that is just, it almost draws itself, so to speak. I mean, it's so abundant. And so, I mean, in anything you can put Mirror Universe Uhura in, the rest of it can be garbage, and then it's still going to be great. And that's what we got here. And I believe our good friend Eric Kramer is part of this one. He had joined, I think this might have been a guest starring appearance until he became a regular.
Yeah.
But he's great in this too. I try to keep it consistent. If I make John's always the captain, so if it's Kirk, he's Kirk, and so forth. But other than that, I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to sacrifice the joke just to keep it logical and consistent. Sorry, Spock. So if John's Kirk in one seat, slide, and then he's the villain the next, so be it. So that's how I approach it. But in this one, he got to be both. He got to be both hero and villain.
I am always so gratified that I get to be in the beats. It always, and it's funny too, because I crack them open to edit them, and I'm always so surprised that really that really makes me laugh very hard. And yes, the thumbnails are great as well. I totally agree.
Thank you, Raphael. I appreciate that, because that's a big part of it, and that's what I go for, trying to make every slide count, basically.
Yes. All right, so let's take a look at Mirror, Mirror. I do remember this being one of my favorites.
Retro Trekkers ask the burning question. Magic mirror on the wall. Which is the most badass episode of them all? It just might be this one from the original series. Mirror, Mirror.
A little subtle gag there with the ISS.
I love it. Oh my God, it's so perfect. And there's another thing that I always like to point out, but it rarely makes it to the show. I think I usually tell you after I've seen them. It's like, I'm always so gratified by how much information you get in these.
Oh, thank you.
Like, you'll make references to things that happened in this episode that are, Townsel's tidbits, and you sacrifice having some tidbits at the end of the show so that you could put them in these. But the observations are always so strong, because really you do have a great memory for these episodes. I'm always asking you, what was the name of that one? Who was in that one? Hey, there was a girl, her name was Jim. She was an empath or something. What was that called? It's always,
John, that was called the empath.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm always so fortunate to have Joe so that he could say things like, the one with the empath? You mean the empath? He's never that mean. That's me. Okay, here we go.
It all begins as the Enterprise orbits a planet ruled by the Halkan pacifists, who make a bold fashion choice with their white hair and blue dots on their foreheads. Captain Kirk, Bones, Uhura, and Scotty have beamed on down to convince the Halkan leader to allow the Federation mining rights. The Halkan's response? No way, Jose. Now, why is Uhura part of this away team anyway? Well, just in case they accidentally beam to a parallel universe where the lovely communications officer wears a sexy uniform with a bare midriff. And, as it turns out, this is every red-blooded crewman's lucky day.
Certainly was ours.
Yeah.
Here we go.
The landing party begins their beam up to the Enterprise. But something goes a little caca. In space, the Enterprise flips back and forth, right to left. Inexplicably, the befuddled quartet finds themselves in an altered transporter room. They all have on new badass uniforms, and Spock has a goatee.
Oh.
Finally, there are intimidating murals of a sword stabbing the planet Earth on every doorway. In this wacky universe, there is no United Federation of Planets.
What?
Instead, there's an evil empire that would put the Klingons and Romulans to shame.
I agree, Raphael.
Mirror Spock blames hapless Lieutenant Kyle for the transporter mishap.
Damn it, Kyle.
Your agonizer, please. Well,
Wish I had
Kyle
his hair.
whimpers, then screams as Spock places the $1.98 prop on the Chief's chest.
Poor
Uhura
Tuvix.
looks away.
What was that, Joe?
Poor Tuvix. I think this was the week before we did Tuvix with Flobo.
I think so.
I said, I'm going to put some Tuvix in there. Get everybody ready for that.
And I just want to say, I have always loved Tuvix. I think the Tuvix episode is great. I just don't. I want everyone to know that we do use it as a comedy reference frequently. But as an episode, I do think it's a great episode, and I've always loved Tuvix.
But doesn't Eric make the perfect mirror Spock?
Oh, he does.
I mean, all I had to do was give him the hair, pretty much.
Yeah, he already has the goatee.
Yeah, he has a goatee. I have to give him the brows and the ears, and I'm done.
Giving the first sign that, although she looks quite fetching in her Mirror Universe outfit, she is actually quite frightened. Feeling any ill effects, Captain? Yeah. Now that you mention it. That beam-up was quite the bumpy ride.
Joe, I don't remember, because we've done quite a few of these.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. Was this the first time you did your
My
William
Kirk?
Shatner?
No, because this wasn't that. I must have done it prior, but obviously I found an inspiration here to really do it up.
That is the secret of doing an imitation. Go for it. Doesn't matter if it's perfect or less than perfect. Go for it. I love your imitation. Of course, I have my own imitation.
Oh, much better. We got to record these together, but it reminds me of doing an impression of William Shatner performing as Kirk. It's a lot like pizza or sex or whatever. You know what I'm getting at?
Right.
Even when it's bad, it's still pretty good because
Exactly.
his character is so captivating and recognizable. I mean, even if you get halfway there, you got something.
It's one of those imitations. Like when we were little kids, it was like Nixon. Like, whoa, everybody could do Nixon. My God, I haven't done that imitation in years.
Oh, I'm gonna have to work Nixon into one of the beats, just so I can talk like him.
All right, there we go. Back into mirror.
Right. Better check us out, Doctor. Well, yes, sir. With that, Kirk finds he and his trio of confused comrades some alone time in sickbay. With extremely impressive deductive skill, Kirk figures out they are all in a parallel universe where, among other distasteful things, McCoy's medical staff places bets on the suffering of their patients.
How dare!
And worse yet, the good doctor himself carelessly spills acid without cleaning up after himself.
Oh.
Okay, so figuring out the problem is halfway to solving it, right?
Yeah.
They make a plan to return home, replicating the effects of the ion storm that got them in this mess in the first place. But until then, they will need to blend in. When in Rome, after all. As they separate to perform their respective tasks, her admits to her captain that she is frightened.
That's what I was
Kirk
doing.
assures her that she's just fine and that she is the only one that can do it. Feeling empowered, she heads to the bridge, the first place where she will prove that she is quite the badass in her own right. Kirk is also feeling a little nervous. After all, he's the target of any a-hole who wants to move up in rank. After getting his own reassurance from the magic mirror on the wall, it's time to kick his own badass machismo into high gear.
Again, this one doesn't have music. What was I doing?
It did.
By the way, what are their evil Empire counterparts up to in the peaceful Federation universe? Well, leave it to our Spock to figure it all out within a few minutes. Actually, it's much easier to spot barbaric a-holes in a peaceful universe than the reverse. The evil quartet are dragged kicking and screaming into the brig, demanding answers as to how they got these wimpy uniforms and what the hell happened to Spock's goatee. Kirk chuckles and offers Spock a bribe. Spock raises an eyebrow, finds the situation fascinating, and walks away. Kirk shouts in protest, the ultimate 23rd century Karen.
That's weird. I don't know what I did with the music there. It dropped out?
I guess so. I never noticed it before.
Wow, that is strange. I do want to mention that the boys in chat are being quite acerbic and funny as usual.
Well, let's hear some.
Raphael Raphael says, I've always had one confusing thought. The writer does the acting and the actor does the producing. Yeah, sometimes. Talk about a mirror universe. And then Chris says, well, it's a funhouse mirror. To which Raphael agrees.
Mystery solved.
I really like when Star Trek inspires our show, and then our show inspires Chris and Raphael to produce even more comedy. That makes me happy.
Now, this is here's a tidbit.
Yeah.
It's not a Star Trek one, but it's a Retro Trekkers one.
Yeah.
So far, this is the only appearance of Eric Kramer where he does not have his goatee.
Right. Now that was very clever because you had to make a different, you had to show the differentiation.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I mean, yeah, because obviously in the regular universe, I mean, he appears with his goatee all the time. That's fine. Right. But we had to see a different Spock here. So I believe I lifted this image from Good Luck Charlie or one of his sitcoms at the time.
Yeah, that looks like a Good Luck Charlie version of Eric. Yeah, that makes sense.
And there's pissed off Kirk making a ruckus over there.
Wearing the wraparound, incredible wraparound jersey, one of my favorites.
Yeah, I have to get you that still.
Raphael says, we're taking our act on the road, Chris and I. And Chris says, maybe on a footpath.
Hey, as long as you're available to tune in on 3 nights a week at 7:00, you can do whatever you guys want.
Seriously, we appreciate it. Oh my God, I did that. Okay. Oh, good.
In his quarters, Captain Kirk meets Marlena Moreau, a.k.a. the Captain's Woman.
Oh, yeah.
The ever-horny Kirk is suddenly less interested in boldly going than boldly coming.
Oh, bad.
But first things first. Pump her for information. After that, maybe pump her for, well, let's keep these Trek beats PG rated, shall we?
It was getting a little risque there.
Which I love that you're the one getting risque and you're the one saying, hey.
Dial it back a notch.
Come on now. Yeah, exactly. Dial it back a notch. Dial it back a notch, Townsel, said Townsel.
Well, that's regular and mirror Townsel,
And, Raphael does mention this, and it is worth mentioning. Thank you for bringing it up, Raphael. I have come to many of these with no knowledge of the episode and only having the beats for reference. And that actually is one reason why we do the beats. It's just in case somebody didn't get a chance to see the show or has never seen the show. We still want you to have reference points. And that's what Joe writes all of this stuff himself. Like, I don't go, hey, Joe, hey, you should mention blah, blah, blah. Like, he does all of this himself.
I keep waiting for John to say, Joe, maybe this particular line, that he never has to his credit. And I do try to, regulate myself as far as what's appropriate. But John did share a story along those lines before we went on tonight about a friend of his that looked at our episode Timeless just last week. Right. And it inspired him to watch the episode, and it gave him a due appreciation for the episode itself as well as the Trek franchise in general. So that was great to hear.
One of the greatest compliments we've ever gotten was somebody said, you guys really inspired me to want to watch that episode. And that's fantastic. And Raphael, we'll take it, man. You don't have to get out there and find this episode. They can be really hard to find now.
Yeah, you got to subscribe or buy them when on physical media, which is getting increasingly difficult to find too.
Increasingly, I mean, when Joe and I first started doing Star Trek stuff, you could see Star Trek on Amazon Prime. You can see it on Netflix. Paramount had it as well. And I know that Raphael has mentioned that he had found it on Pluto.
Right. Yeah, it's great. I mean, I was going to mention that too if it didn't come up, but yes, Raphael, you're absolutely right. It's on Pluto. They have 2 dedicated channels for it. The only problem with things like Pluto is it's live, meaning just like in the old days, wherever you tune in, that's what you got, But if you want to sit there long enough, you'll, probably no more than half an hour, you'll find a great one to watch. So
That's so funny. I actually like that sometimes. I like being
Yeah.
able to just turn on Star Trek, like
Yeah.
not even necessarily the original series. It's like just show, let's just have some Star Trek on the TV. I don't care which one it is. I'm perfectly happy with
Well,
almost
that's
any.
exactly, and this is way back when it wasn't so sophisticated as far as streaming and so forth. But I had an old friend that I used to work with also, and he said sometimes you just want to watch TV.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
turn it on and go. So.
That's the thing. Like, especially if I'm like traveling or something like that, I always like to have something on in the background. And if it's Star Trek, like at some point, I'm going to sit down and just watch it.
I mean, I have my, not for writing, because I need, I don't need those distractions. I have music on for that. But for doing other stuff, I find it works okay if I have TV on in the background. And yeah, every once in a while I'll turn toward it, when something, then I'll go right back to it. So it's a lot of fun. And I mean, I guess the only thing I would rather do than watch TV is, pump this poor woman for information, Poor Marlena.
Back to it.
After a little loving, it's back in uniform
Oh, God,
for the
this too
captain
much fun.
and his woman. Marlena unwittingly introduces our Kirk to the real source of his evil counterpart's power. Turns out Mirror Kirk isn't such a badass after all. No, he just uses his stolen Tantalus field to disintegrate his enemies. That is, so long as his target is standing precisely on the right spot, hitting his mark, and is visible on the 10-inch monitor screen. Uhura reveals that Kirk is ordered to annihilate the Hawkins if they don't comply. Resistance is futile with these impatient Empire overlords.
This is one of my favorite images.
Our crew puts their plan into action. Scotty needs to short out the main phaser couplings and siphon power off to the transporter. So Uhura needs to distract.
By the way, I mean, let's not be gentle or discreet about this. Can I hear it for Nichelle Nichols' tummy, folks? Oh my goodness, Nichelle Nichols, period, an absolute smoke show. But I just like seeing a natural tummy right there. I don't need to see abs. See a nice, sweet little tummy.
And she, and she, she's not slacking there. So there's tone and everything, but I mean, just absolutely gorgeous. Obviously all the time, but this is definitely a standout for Nichelle's beauty for sure.
Absolutely.
Mirror Sulu from his security board. She does so in the most sensual way possible. I push you away, and you come back. This time, you didn't come back. This is a public service announcement. If Joe's bad impersonation of Uhura is making you lose wood, well then just keep looking at her picture here. Sulu takes Uhura's bait and fails to notice the blinking light on the panel. Then Uhura slaps the crap out of Sulu and pulls out her knife. You take a lot of chances, lady. So do you, you toxic male. So do you. Sulu is embarrassed as the security guys loitering in the background snicker. Uhura sachets off the bridge. Uhura badass mission number 1 accomplished. In the meantime, Kirk has to deal with a botched assassination attempt by Mirror Chekhov, which results in only a mere bloody fat lip for the captain. Nice try, but now it's time for the agony booth for you, you bad boy. Kirk also has to look over his shoulder as Mirror Spock himself may make his own attempt to bump off the captain. Although he claims he has no desire to be captain himself and is happy to be a lesser target. However, if the formerly badass Kirk keeps getting wimpy, Spock may have no choice but to sick his Vulcan henchman on him. Take your best shot, Spock. By then, my 3 comrades and I will be safely back in our own universe. Well, Kirk has spoken too soon.
Smiling.
I love your
Kirk
smile.
and company are met in sickbay by Mirror Sulu and his gang of thugs. Fortunately, Marlena has her well-manicured fingernail hovering over the button of the Tantalus field. She eliminates Sulu's muscle men one by one, but inexplicably leaving Sulu alive. Well, no matter. He can't possibly win a mano against even the wimpy version of Kirk, and he is soon out for the count. Ah, but crap! Mirror Spock arrives on the scene. His curiosity about the landing party's bizarre behavior since returning from the surface has been piqued. Another fight ensues, and Spock can only be beaten by smashing a pot over his head. McCoy shoos the others to the transporter room. He'll catch up after treating Spock. Ah, good old McCoy. He's a first-rate healer in any universe.
That's right.
Shortly after, Spock wakes up and shows his gratitude by performing a forced mind meld on McCoy to get the lowdown on the landing party's shenanigans.
Ow.
Here we go. Two bellies.
And you'll notice he didn't say, remember.
It wasn't time for that yet. But I was always wondered how, okay, you smash a pot over Spock's head. I guess I was going to kill him somehow. I don't know.
Apparently, all flower pots in this universe are deadly weapons.
They are lethal. And I like Raphael's point. You can only vaporize the sun extras. That's exactly right. Why did I not think of that? Here's Kirk, of course.
Marlena takes Kirk back to the transporter room. She decides that she would rather come back to the Prime Universe with him. Well, sorry, babe, but there's only room for 4. Oh, yeah? Touch my phaser, you big stud. Now, Captain Kirk would never hit a girl, but thankfully, he doesn't have to make that judgment call. Uhura sneaks up behind Marlena, and the catfight ensues. And ends shortly thereafter. Uhura has wasted no time in whooping Marlena's butt. Uhura Badass Mission number 2 accomplished. Marlena can only slink away and sulk. Ah, crap again! Spock enters the room. I've got to have my captain back. You're too wimpy to deal with.
So,
fine, but first consider this. Mirror Spock. I contend that your empire is illogical.
Ew.
How long can it possibly last? Oh, I'd say about 240 years. Side note. Turns out the empire will fall much sooner. See DS9's crossover episode.
all right, yeah.
And Kirk retorts, exactly. So you should be proactive in overthrowing this evil empire of yours. This from Scotty, who actually has had very little dialogue in this episode. Captain, get your ass in the transporter chamber. The clock is ticking, Captain. Besides, I need some ace in the hole to take on the whole empire by myself. Funny you should mention that, Spock. Just so happens, there's this nifty little gadget in my quarters. It disintegrates your enemies and annoying Karens with a single push of a button. Isn't that right, Marlena? She doesn't respond. She's still embarrassed by her quick defeat in the girl fight with Uhura. Kirk takes his place in the transporter chamber, much to Scotty's relief. So, what's it gonna be, Spock? Tyranny or freedom? Good or evil? Goatee or clean-shaven? It's your choice, my cunning little Vulcan. Spock raises an eyebrow and grins slyly. Captain Kirk, I shall consider it. Mirror Spock activates the transporter and sends them all home to their Prime Universe. No doubt, when their mirror counterparts beam in, they're going to be really, really pissed. Back in the Prime Universe, Captain Kirk goes over the events they have just experienced. Then, a newly transferred lieutenant named Marlena Moreau appears on the bridge, seeking his signature for some mundane purchase order or something. Spock raises an eyebrow. Oh, she's just a nice girl. We could be friends. Besides, I brought back just the right lingerie for her. With that, Uhura winks at Kirk. Little does he know that she brought home her Mirror Universe Empire uniform for them both to enjoy later in her quarters.
And may I say that Jolene Blaylock and Nana Visitor, they rock their Empire uniforms pretty good too.
Oh my goodness. I can't believe it was only now that I noticed that their costumes were a combination of the Enterprise costumes done as a two-piece.
Oh yeah.
With those, shoulder, I can't remember what they're called, but like those little shoulder things. That is so goofy.
Not the most logical uniform choice, but you know what? It's midriff exposing, and I'm all for it.
Hey, somebody we're just meeting. McGear is with us. Hey, McGear. Side note, referencing Space Karens makes me wonder who is or are Star Trek's top space Karens?
Oh, that's a big question. That's a great question.
Great one. I can tell you who I thought of first. I'm not proud of it. Trelane.
Oh, yes.
I mean, not proud of it because it's, it's not exactly a Karen. We need like a space Karen.
Yeah.
That's something to think about.
It is something to think about. I mean, Trelane is a great thought because, of course, it's widely accepted that he is part of the Q continuum somehow. And, of course, Q is a huge Karen, I think, in terms of, this is my will and you will live in it.
But, this is a real strong suggestion from McGear. Mud's wife.
Oh,
Mud. She's great. But Ralph does bring up Janice Lester.
Oh, yes.
Could work.
Yeah, I think we're going to be looking at Janice Lester later in a later episode of Trekkers, but yeah, that's a good. I mean, we could come up with numerous ones, but those top three, those are great.
Yeah, we definitely have. We're building a good list here. All right, here we go. We're going to go with our final one for this episode, and that will be we're looking at the one that Joe did for The Visitor. Now, The Visitor is from Deep Space Nine.
Right.
It is an alternative, alternative reality.
It would be an alternate reality because it had to be corrected by an action in the future that rewrote the past. Yeah.
And it features Jake Sisko, a great character, played in this alternative reality by Tony Todd, who passed away just a few months ago.
Right.
And
this was a Tony Todd tribute. We had just the week prior done Terry Garr and Assignment Earth, and before the show tonight, John and I debated, well, which one of the two? And I said, let's go with The Visitor because it's got, it's even more powerful. It's one of DS9's very best. It's also significant because coming right after the two-part Way of the Warrior, which introduced Worf to Deep Space Nine, and people were afraid it's going to become the Worf show. Well, right. He appeared in the first 2 minutes of this one, and then the rest was about Jake and Sisko. Right. And it said, this is still an ensemble, and this is a great way to put those apprehensions to rest.
So let's have a look at Joe's beats for The Visitor. If you want to say something funny, by all means, you are invited to. But if you do find that it hits you a little hard in the heart, that is not a mistake. And so, let's just jump into it. We can talk.
Sure, of course.
Retro Trekkers. This week, Trek tribute to Tony Todd. Guest starring in The Visitor. The somber mood is set as elderly Jake Sisko takes a shot from a hypospray. He then answers a knock on the door during a dark and stormy night. The Visitor is a young woman who introduces herself as Melanie. She is curious to meet her idol. As Jake serves tea, Melanie tells him that he is her favorite author. She has visited him to learn why he stopped writing after publishing only a single novel and a few short stories. Since then, Jake has become a recluse in the tradition of J.D. Salinger. His answer to the visitor's question is brief and heartbreaking. I stopped because my father died. Flashback to the USS Defiant. Sisko has taken young Jake on a field trip to the Bajoran wormhole. There's a rare opportunity to watch it undergo an inversion, a natural wonder that happens once every 50 years. Jake is drafting an early version of his novel. Sisko cajoles him to get his nose out of the book, offering this bit of wisdom. I'm no writer, but if I were, it seems to me I'd want to poke my head up every once in a while and take a good look around to see what's going on. It's life, Jake. You can miss it if you don't open your eyes. The phenomenon becomes far from routine and in a tragic way. The warp core becomes unstable. Sisko and Jake are now in engineering. Father and son get the core stabilized, and all is well until a lightning bolt of energy explodes from the warp core and vaporizes Sisko. Or so it seems at the time. Jake is now an orphan. He rattles about DS9, mourning the loss of his dad. He is uncertain where his life will now take him. Everyone on the station tries to comfort him, but to little avail. One sleepless night, Sisko appears to Jake, then quickly vanishes. Was it a ghost or other apparition? Jake isn't sure. That is until Sisko reappears sometime later. This time, Sisko doesn't disappear immediately, and Jake is able to get him to the station's infirmary. Bashir and Dax confirm that this is the real Sisko, and not just a figment of his grieving son's imagination. Sisko has somehow become unstuck in time. Unfortunately, everyone is helpless to prevent their dear departed captain from remaining marooned in a timeless void. Sisko's absence has clear ramifications. The loss of the emissary has shaken the faith of the Bajorans. In addition, the Klingons are amping up their aggressions. Therefore, the Federation decides to cut their losses and withdraw from DS9. Years pass. Young adult Jake and elderly Jake are now played by Tony Todd for the duration of the story. Upon his return to Earth, Jake settled into Louisiana and lived with his grandfather. Later still, he married a Bajoran painter, Corinna. He is slowly but surely rebuilding his life until his father drops in again. Sisko is resigned to his fate. He just wants to know about Jake's life and if he's happy. But Jake cannot bear to see his father being yanked back and forth between real-time and seeming oblivion. Jake dedicates all his energy to rescuing his father, immediately abandoning some goals and gradually letting go of others. Jake goes back to school to learn about temporal mechanics and gets his degree on the fast track. The cost of his obsession will be life-changing and tragic. His marriage and writing career will be among the casualties. Jake and his wife have a nice visit from Captain Nog, his Ferengi boyhood chum from his DS9 days. Jake figures that the best chance to rescue his dad will be to take the old Defiant out of mothballs. That 50-year Old Faithful inversion phenomenon is about to happen again. Aided by Captain Nog and the now elderly Bashir and Dax, Jake sets up a device that will hopefully pull Sisko back into the timeline permanently. Yet it is not to be. Instead, the device pulls Jake out of time, where he's able to see his father for a short time. In a serene white void, Sisko again implores Jake to move on with his life. Sisko's pleas fall upon Jake's deaf ears. The now elder Jake Sisko gets sucked back into normal space, his resolve and obsession now multiplied and fortified. Back to the elderly Jake and Melanie as he continues his recollection. Jake's expertise in temporal mechanics has not been obtained in vain. He has figured out that he acts like a tether, continuing to drag his father forward through time. Jake deduces that if he were to somehow sever that connection when his father is present, it will act as kind of a reset button. As such, he will instantly send his dad back to the moment of the original accident. The sun rises and Melanie prepares to take her leave. Jake gives her a copy of his last unpublished work, with all his notes, entrusting what remains of his legacy to his new and last friend. As Melanie opens the door, Jake repeats his father's advice to look around every once in a while to experience life. And you can miss it if you don't open your eyes. Jake settles in to wait for his father to appear one final time. He takes a short nap. When he awakes, his father is there, loving and admiring the son who is now an old man. Jake reveals his plan to sever the connection. Cisco finds the hypospray, the one that Jake used at the beginning of the episode. It's poison, and Jake has only a few minutes left to live. Cisco is devastated that his son has sacrificed himself to save his father from an endless existence of purgatory. Jake assures his dad that his sacrifice is not just for Cisco, but for himself as well. He tells his father, "I do this for the boy that I was. He needs you more than you know, and we're going to get a second chance." Moments later, elderly Jake passes away. Cisco is thrust back in time to the moment just prior to the original accident. But this time he's ready. He shields both him and Jake from the energy blast from the warp core. Cisco beholds his beloved son Jake. Jake, who sacrificed his marriage, his writing career, a promising future that may never be, indeed his very life, to save his father. But now the future is not set. Once again, the possibilities are endless.
Thank you, John. I mean, I know this is one of your favorites, and I'm going to tell you and our audience something for the first time, actually. Everybody, John is real generous. He says, you know what, if you flub a line while recording this, then just pause and do it again, and I'll find it, and I'll edit out the bad one. This one, I didn't do that much.
No.
And the reason is because there were genuine moments when I was choking myself up.
Yeah.
With memories of my own father, who, although he passed away 40 years ago this year.
Wow.
It really affected me. And I said, you know what? Just because I stammered or I kind of tripped on a word, I'm not going to do it again, because I'm going to lose the impact for myself, if nobody else.
Right.
So that's why you hear a little bit more, so-called flubs, if that's the word, in this one, because I said, I just want to make this as real as possible. And I know John enjoyed it. I hope you all did too. I mean, it is a rare, totally serious take on a Trek episode, but this is a rare, totally serious Trek episode. Thank you, Raphael. He says you weave a mood, Joe. Well done. I do appreciate that. And it's also a rare time when we didn't incorporate ourselves into it. We just told the story.
Right.
And which, again, John and I talked about this one quite a bit before we did it, because it was going to be, at the time, and still is, really a kind of a unique take on doing beats. And I treasure it. It's definitely one of my favorites, what we've done so far. And I'm glad that everyone has enjoyed it as well, especially Captain John.
I have to tell you, as somebody who has spent most of my life trying to do comedy, like, I always liked being an actor. I always liked doing different kinds of roles if I could get them. I'm not going to tell you any lies. It's not like I was turning down a lot of roles. It's, to be in comedy, and everybody here in this discussion has made me laugh many times. So we're all funny people.
Sure.
There is a time. There is a time for everything. Chris, what a great time to bust this saying out. Death is easy, comedy is hard.
Very true.
The magic of going beyond comedy to being touching, able to touch someone's emotions, able to reach out and touch someone and hit them on an emotional level. I guess this is a reference to being funny. Chris says, "Leave my looks out of this."
Hey, now's a great time for a little bit of laughter. So thank you, Chris, for that.
Absolutely. It's it's funny too, because I go to my website where I make songs. I make some songs. They're fine. Usually they're good. For some reason, these songs hit hard as they go with your prose, Joe. It was, as touched as I was editing it and then airing it and now re-airing it, it does not lose its effect. Well,
thank you, John. I mean, it means so much to me, and I'm not just saying, "Oh, thanks a lot." I mean, this is a very special piece for me.
Yeah.
I'm so glad it resonated with John and others, and it holds up. I mean, it's a timeless approach to. I mean, we'll compare it momentarily to last week's episode. We enjoyed Timeless.
Oh yeah,
it was a good episode, but it did fall back in the old reset button approach to. And you know what? So did this one, but it's different because there was sacrifice and there was abundant love, and it was just really heartbreaking. So it didn't stand out like other episodes that have just hit the reset, so to speak.
Yeah, Cirroc Lofton was a very young actor when he started on Deep Space Nine, and something he was always so good at was just having his feelings on his sleeve. That makes him a particularly good actor. And I know I mentioned it last time too. There's just something so beautiful about how Avery Brooks and Cirroc Lofton portrayed father and son.
Right.
They just did it in a beautiful way. And Cirroc Lofton has said, "Oh no, Avery Brooks was so good to me. He was a second father." And that's not just good acting. That's just good existing. That's just good being.
Of course, and this is from episode 1. This wasn't something out of the blue or we never saw this relationship before.
Yeah.
Just to, tug at our heartstrings. I mean, they were a father and son from episode 1, which was super unique to Star Trek, especially then.
Yes.
And it culminates here to a large degree. And wow, you have to have ice water in your veins not to be affected by it, in my opinion.
That is such a good point. It has never occurred to me that Captain Sisko is the only captain who's a parent.
Yeah.
Who had a child. Wow. All these years, and Star Trek can still surprise me. McGear says comedy is hard because of the instant feedback or lack of it. Yep. But being emotionally touching is being vulnerable in a way that comedy often isn't. That is so true. And I'll make just one quick reference back to our childhoods for this, although it happened recently as well. And that is that, oh my gosh, I lost it. I had it in my head.
Something about referencing our childhoods generally?
Robin Williams.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Robin Williams liked to make people laugh. And he was very, frenetic, high energy. But when he really got into his movie roles, he found that that sweet spot of wanting to make people laugh through tears. Now, maybe sometimes he failed. There were certainly times where he pushed really hard to get that level, but there were other times when it was so real to me. Actually, in World According to Garp, I found myself so touched by that movie. I
Mhm.
knew it wasn't a great movie, but man, there was just something about a comedian going, "Hey, I can make you laugh, but I can also get you to feel other emotions very powerfully as well."
Absolutely, and it's actually one of my favorites. I've seen it repeatedly, and I think that harkens back to Star Trek generally. I mean, we've over the past, you know, almost 70 years now, we've heard this, and it's true. I mean, Star Trek is one of those few precious gifts that we've had in our childhoods, our adulthoods until now, that it inspires, it amuses, it entertains, it touches us. It
Yeah.
has all of it in all its iterations.
Wow.
And that's what we try to celebrate here on Retro Truckers with all of you every week.
Beautifully said, my friend. I'm going
Thank
to
you, man.
leave it right there. That once again, the only guy who can put a button on Joe Townsel is Joe Townsel.
Well, thank you for everything, John. I mean, thanks to Captain John. I mean, I've gotten so active and it's so fulfilling and fun to be part of the Weber Internet thingy and everything I do with John. And we're branching out and we're going to be doing more, great stuff for you. So stay tuned for all that. But I do want to take this moment to gush over John a little bit, tell him what a great friend he is,
Well,
what a
thank you,
great
sir.
guy he is, and how talented and wonderful he is. And I'll put a button on that.
Beautifully done. Hey, next week at 7 p.m., we have to
You have to
acknowledge
do it.
420. I'm a minister's son. Like it was my mom who was a minister, but I haven't looked at a calendar in quite some time, so I didn't realize it was Easter. So Joe was like, "Hey, should we just take next Sunday off?" And I went, "Next Sunday?" And he goes, "Yeah, 420. Should we take it off?" And I'm like, "Why would we take it off? When Reefer Madness is out there in the public domain and we can do a watch party of it." And it didn't even occur to me that it's also Easter. So if people can't make it because you're celebrating Easter, I certainly understand. Joe understands. However, if you're available and you feel like, because I've never seen it. Have you ever watched Reefer Madness, Joe?
Actually, I have seen Reefer Madness, and believe me, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I mean, it has earned its reputation as illustrated here. It's great. So please, guys, it's an hour long. It's a short feature.
It's really short.
Yeah.
So we won't take up too much of your Sunday. And that's very nice to hear, Raphael. Mass and Easter eggs are earlier in the day. And in this economy, I don't even know how many eggs you're getting, my friend.
You may have to go short on the eggs. So fill the void by watching Reefer Madness on Retro Rangers Reactions. It is a little bit of a cheat, honestly, because we are on Retro Rangers hiatus. And ultimately, Retro Rangers Reactions will be a little bit of a different kind of show, but you're pretty much getting a bonus Retro Rangers, because we're doing a live watch party of Reefer Madness. So
going right back to a format that we've been doing for a long time now and really enjoying. The guys are just killing me. Marshmallow eggs, and then you're mentioning legs.
Yes, and legs.
The pantyhose sold in a plastic egg at every store when we were kids.
Yes, my mom used them.
I love it. So hopefully, we can give you a little fun and a little relief next Sunday from the busy Easter you may be having. If you're marching in the Easter parade, you can always unwind with us. And I will say this right now, and I will promise you this: I will not be high.
Well, I don't know, John. It may be something to think about. But let's surprise everybody. How about that?
Here's the thing: when I'm high, I am the most unentertaining person in the world. So I save that for later,
Okay.
at night when I need to get to sleep. But yeah, no, I'm not going to do it. Anybody else can be high.
Yeah, please
Absolutely
do your
anybody.
thing. And I just hope that watching Reefer Madness doesn't scare you from getting high later, because it is a cautionary tale after all.
Not high to start the show. Hey, I don't judge anyone, but I have done some very bad comedy while high, so I will not be doing that for anybody. And yes, and I totally agree, Raphael. What a great celebration of Joe Townsel.
Thank you,
Joe,
Raphael.
you never fail to just bring your absolute best, and what a great way to go. I should probably have come up with another thing to play, but we're going to take it out with this intro that I made. Joe, thank you very much. Chat, thank you so much.
John, I hate to mention it because we're running over, but one more time on the other shows came up this week, maybe? Throw them up real quick.
No, you're very right. We should do that. Coming up here, I'll go down to ticker and I'll take that out. So Tuesday, we hope you'll join us if you can at 7 p.m. on the West Coast, 10 p.m. on the East Coast, where we will be recapping and reviewing Profit and Loss from Deep Space Nine. Armin Shimmerman, one of the best actors ever. He loved to rehearse. He loved to rehearse outside of their schedule. So usually he'd have a big Sunday dinner and have everybody who was working on the scenes with him, have everybody come over and just work it and just make it magic. And you don't always get to do that when you're doing an hour-long TV show. Usually it's like two takes, and you got to move to the next scenes. So you're going to see a lot of very well done work by the actors on that episode that's coming up Tuesday on Retro Trekkers. Thursday, Mr. Weber's Web O Mystery. Joe is always sitting front and center in the chat.
Absolutely.
And making the chat a lot of fun. Look away. And then on Sunday, we will be doing our Retro Rangers reaction, the watch party of the Reefer Madness. And Raphael, thank you for mentioning it. KGB, that would be Eric Kramer's show that I'm on with him. And coming up this Sunday, I think he'd be okay with me telling you. We're going to be... you might like this, Raphael, seeing as though it's not far from where you live. Cheesesteak. We're going to do Eric Kramer's cheesesteak. Now, it's not going to be officially Philadelphia. He and I had a big talk about this, and he is one of those people who says Cheese Whiz does not belong on a beautiful cheesesteak. So we'll let you know what kind of cheese we're using on this cheesesteak. But yeah, he's going to be chopping it up, making a cheesesteak for us from Kramer's Grill and Bar. And I cannot wait that's tomorrow for me when we shoot it. I cannot wait to eat it.
And it will drop on Saturday.
And it dropped on Saturday, a week from yesterday. So that is our regular schedule. And Eric's doing an amazing job. Speaking of a guy who can produce and perform and edit, Eric is amazing. So we're going to have, will it be a great cheesesteak, Raphael? I hope you think so. I hope, and I wish there was some way I could get it to you. Yes, that's right. Yesterday's episode was gumbo, and I got to tell you, I'm probably about 20 minutes away from going and heating up the rest of that gumbo. All right, my friends. Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you, Captain John.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Raphael. Thank you, McGear. It is just such a treat to have everybody, and what a fun time we had. See you next week for 420 and Reefer Men.